Welcome back to my channel, guys. Underground season 2 episode 8. I was thinking from episode 7 they had nowhere to go. Like, how were they going to outdo themselves with this episode? And of course they didn't disappoint me. This was a great episode. I'm going to start with Daniel. Daniel's part was very short. He was creating a sign, and the sign was in Latin, and it translates into wisdom itself is liberty, I think, or freedom. I think it's wisdom itself is liberty, I think. He did that on purpose because they blinded Daniel for teaching these other slaves to read. So that was a very cruel punishment, but that doesn't take away the knowledge that he already learned. So he still has everything that he read before that point. Rosalie and Noah are separated at this point because Rosalie got caught last episode in the house, and she is now back at her old job doing what she was doing before she ran away, which is being a housemaid, or one of the house girls. They start off with James getting ready, and one of the house girls comes and puts the suit jacket on him, and it's Christmas Day, so he goes downstairs. But before he goes downstairs, he goes to look at Rosalie getting ready for work, and she's being squeezed into her old uniform, which she clearly can't fit into anymore because she's pregnant. So out of the corner of her eye, she sees James looking, and she was just giving him the side eye this whole episode, which I would have been too. I honestly, kudos to her, because I don't even know if I would have been speaking. But he goes downstairs after they call him down there, and he's looking at his presents, and I think he got a riding saddle as one of the presents. And then TR looks at his mom like, oh, you got him a pony? And then his mom's like, yeah, if you weren't rolling around like a, then you would have gotten one too. James behaves himself, and he has like this smug smile on his face. You can tell TR's vibe is off. I can feel the tension between him and James through the screen. I guess they're competing for Miss Susanna's affection now that he is in the house, and she's taking him on basically as one of her children because he calls her mom. The girl Kara comes back finally to find Noah, and Noah hems her up, and he has her like in a chokehold, and he's like, what happened to you? Basically, are you alone? Because he thought that she had ratted them out because she never came back in the last episode. That was the plan, for her to come back, and then they were supposed to, I guess she was supposed to go in the house and get James. I think it wasn't supposed to be Rosalie, but because she never came back, they decided to go ahead with the plan without her. And that's how Rosalie got caught, obviously. Well, not that's how she got caught. James is how she got caught. But that's what happened. And she explained that Miss Susanna had called her to the house to prepare for the Christmas dinner. So then they go out and they're looking for someone to see, like a weak link. Maybe they can get into the house with someone. But they go through all the slaves, and they realize that, they can't really trust anyone. Kara's like, you can't even trust family. And then Noah, in his mind, I think he worked it out. He was like, I don't think I can trust any of these people, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it myself. He goes and visits James, and James is out with his new pony, and he's I think he's like feeding it or something like that. He walks up on him. He tells James that even after what he did, ratting his sister out like that, she's still not going to want to leave the plantation without him. And so he says that I'm about to become a father, you're about to become an uncle, and that makes us family. And because we're family, I take care of mine, so I'm not going to let you or anyone else get in my way. And he starts talking to the overseer Bill and how she had took those lashes for him, and Rosalie still loves him. James is saying, well, if you were so big on protecting, why didn't you protect my sister from Bill? And Noah really didn't have an answer for him. So I think after that point, he was like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and kill Bill. So after that, we cut to a scene of Rosalie cleaning the office, and TR comes in and he asks her what she's doing in there, and she says she's cleaning. And he says something about Miss Susanna wanted something from the wine cellar or from the cellar, and you should be down there getting it. And she said to him, right, she's like, she wanted whiskey and it's not down there. He calls one of the other house girls in, and tries to slap her, and Rosalie stops him. And I didn't understand that in the beginning of the episode either, because after they went down where the presents were and everybody was, well, James and TR were opening their gifts, Miss Susanna slapped one of the house girls and looked at Rosalie like, you need to be in the house making the food. Nothing has changed, and I didn't understand why she hit her. Maybe because she's pregnant, I don't know. But if y'all know why they weren't hitting Rosalie, please let me know. James comes in and says stop. TR says don't tell me what to do. I feel like they're not really friends anymore. I guess more like siblings. And they leave, and they give James and Rosalie a moment to be together. And James tells her, you should have never came back. My life was good without you. All of this bad stuff that happened to their mom and Sam happened because she ran away. And she apologizes, and she says that we got to get you out of here. She says that you're my brother. Stop acting like this is your family, because it's not. And at that point, James had made up his mind that he was going to stay at the Macon plantation. He was not going to go with Rosalie and Noah. He told Rosalie that Noah had come to him and he was coming to get her. So we're going to go to the dinner scene, because I think that's the next part that happens. And all of the slaves, all of the prize slaves are sitting at the table, and they're partaking in the Christmas dinner. Noah busts in the door, and he basically is like, I don't remember what he says, but that was a grand entrance. He busts in, and Rosalie takes this pan that she used to serve, and she hits James and knocks him out, which she should have done in the first place. And they carry him out. They put James in there. Miss Susanna runs out too. And then what I didn't see was TR behind there with the gun, and Noah was pointing the gun at Miss Susanna. And TR comes, or you hear TR say, don't hurt my mom, or my mama, whatever he said. And he points the gun at Noah. But I think before he can even get a shot off, Noah shoots him in the leg, and by accident he shot his mom, and I think in the shoulder. He's recovering from this gunshot wound. She tells Rosalie, she says, no matter where you go, my slave catchers will find you and they'll bring you back here. And Rosalie says, they're not going to bring me back here because there's not going to be anything to come back to. And with that, she throws that lantern, and the house is set on fire. So yeah, that's the end of that storyline. But I'm excited to see what happens with them next, because Noah is really mad that Rosalie put herself and the baby in that much danger. And I was too, that even happened the way it happened. Let's move on to Miss Ernestine and August. So Miss Ernestine, obviously last episode, she was caught. And August and Patty's boy toy, I don't know the man's name, were the ones that caught her, and they're taking her back to Patty. So they're heading north. I'm not really sure where they are, but they are headed down a river or some type of water. So Patty's boyfriend is telling August that they should get to dry land because they can move faster, and out there they are sitting ducks, which is true because they're out in the open. They don't really have anything, protection to cover themselves, whatever. Part of me was wondering, was August paddling slow because he had changed his mind about the whole thing? Like, when did he change his mind? Because obviously he has switched sides somewhere in the episode, but we'll lead up to that. And also he directed this episode as well, so that was pretty cool. They mentioned Patty, and Miss Ernestine asks, who's Patty? What does she want with me? And Patty's boyfriend says that she has business with your daughter. Somebody shoots at them, and I think Miss Ernestine jumps out of the boat, and she jumps into the water, which I don't know why, because she can't swim. But Patty's boyfriend jumps in after her to save her, and he drags her to dry land, and he basically goes off on her and says, now I'm all wet and don't try anything else, I guess, for the rest of the trip. He was just really aggravated, probably because he didn't want to go down there to begin with to get her. He also finds the last bottle of drugs that she has left, and he gives it to August and says when the withdrawals kick in, you know, she'll be a lot easier to handle. And the next scene you see of them, they're walking through some water that's about waist deep. Well, not waist deep, I guess it's a little bit lower than that. August asks Patty's boyfriend, did you cover your tracks? And he says, of course I did. And that's when he looks at Miss Ernestine, and he sees that she has a leaf and she's trying to leave a trail, but August was behind her, so he was picking it up the whole time. And she had been asking questions like, oh, what happened to your son? And he says, what happened to your sons and your daughter? And they get to, I guess, a point in the night where they want to stop. They have her on a rope the whole time. But this is the Miss Ernestine I know and love. The one who has a fight in her. This whole episode, she's been trying to get away. Regardless of what that man says or does, she has been trying to get away. When they finally settle for the night, Miss Ernestine and August end up talking. And August basically talks about his downfalls as a man and as a father to his son, and how he basically let his son down because he didn't have anything to give him, and he should have not had him out there trying to catch slaves. But I guess he felt like that was the only thing he had to give, was his knowledge of catching slaves. And that part was kind of sad. I kind of felt sorry for him, but then at the same time, no, I didn't. It went away like 2 seconds. Like, I felt sorry for 2 seconds, and then I was over it. So then we get to the point where Miss Ernestine asks to go to the bathroom. The man says, I don't trust you. And then she says, that's why I'm on a rope. She starts walking to the bathroom. Obviously, she's trying to run again. She tied the rope to a tree, and she ran off. He starts following her. And some kind of way, him and August end up getting in a fight, and August kills Patty's boy toy. It looked like a carving tool or something. That scene was really dark, so I really couldn't tell what it was, but he stuck that through his throat, and then he shot him. So he must have been really irritated by him as well. And then he gave back the last little bit of drugs that Miss Ernestine had left, and then he pulled her to him. But it looked like he was like he cracked her neck or something. I don't know. It looked like he did something to her. So that was the end of that. Oh, they get in the boat and they start heading south. So I guess they're not going back to Patty. And his heart was changed within one conversation. I don't know if it was more, but he sounded like he had basically gotten tired of slave catching. So let's catch up with Georgia and Elizabeth. Georgia is having a sale, and I think the title was Buy This for the Sake of the Slave, something like that. And people aren't really buying stuff. Like, they come by, but I think they see that it's Georgia, and they know that she's, you know, passing as white, or they know that she isn't white because her house was raided, because people talk, and they aren't buying stuff from her, probably because of that. So Elizabeth comes by and she says, oh, I'll buy it all. And they start chit-chatting about how Georgia has become the talk of the town. And an old friend comes by. Well, I don't even know if we would consider her a friend to Elizabeth, but she comes by to talk to Elizabeth and says, I've been out of the country with my husband, and this cause that you guys are doing is so great, but I can't give you any money because I have to talk to my husband every time I give money, so don't ask me for any money, but you and I should do tea. And Elizabeth just looks at her like, okay. They go back to the house because Harriet's in the house, and they're talking to her about they need to get the train tickets for Rosalie and her family. How are they going to do that? And she says that a lot of people talk about the cause, but they don't actually give money to the cause. And she says, Harriet tells her the story of Oliver, this man that was in New York, that she wanted to borrow some money from him. It was like $20. At first he said no, he was a friend of the cause, and then eventually he ended up changing his mind. And then she asked Elizabeth, when was the last time that you prayed? And then from there, they go to a scene where they're basically devising a plan to steal some money from the church. And their plan is to have, I guess, separate or different people within the congregation, and that are friends of the cause. And there's one girl there, and I see she has a bag, and it was closed like this. I almost couldn't tell, but the bag was moving, so I was like, okay, there's something in that bag. And she lets the bag go right before she gets up, and there's a whole bunch of snakes in there, which was crazy because the minister is actually up preaching at this time, and people are just like losing their minds, going crazy, running out. This was right after they had taken, I guess, either tithe or offering. And after that, they took that big box that was in the back that was filled with money, and they start walking out. And the pastor comes, and he sees it, but he starts talking like, you guys are bad and you need to stop this. And she says, I'll show you a real sinner. You need to turn around, and you need to be quiet and turn around. Something like that. That's what Georgia says. And I'm so happy to see her finally get some fight back in her, because after the whole raid thing, I felt like she had kind of gone, like her energy level was down. And she still hasn't explained about her mom and stuff like that, but it is what it is. After Georgia says what she says to the pastor, the next scene that you see with them is the Christmas dinner, and Harriet's there, I guess, with some more people that are friends of the cause. And Elizabeth comes to dinner, and everybody's happy, and they're talking about, you know, they have enough money for the train tickets for Rosalie and her family. And I think she says she's thinking about it, and she's thinking like that's not enough. So the next thing you see is her going to the house of the woman who said that she wanted to give to the cause, but basically when she came to the door, she said, I'm not giving to anything that woman Georgia is involved in. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose, don't you think? You said you're a friend of the cause, but you don't want to give to her. Why? Because she was passing for white? And that's the reason why she was doing what she was doing, because you wouldn't give to her otherwise. So she basically blackmails the lady into giving her the money. She says, if you don't give me this money, I'm going to tell your husband you've been sleeping around. Simple as that. And she says, you're going to be given to this cause for a long time, because I'm going to come back and get money from you every month. And she said, Elizabeth says, I think you're a good person. We just have to drag it out of you. Something to that effect. So yeah, that was the end of that storyline. That was crazy. The next part, and I left this for the end because I don't know what side Cato is on, and sometimes he gets on my nerves. Like, I don't know if he's for us or if he's against us, which I guess is why people like him, because he's confusing. So Cato is sneaking into Patty's living quarters. He had taken a copy of the book that Donahue was writing about Patty, and he gave it to her for her to read. She is disappointed so far by what he's written, because basically all he says is that she hasn't been able to catch Miss Harriet Tubman. From that point, Cato is trying to basically take her focus away from the Black Rose, Rosalie, and put it back on Harriet Tubman, and he starts singing the song, and he does the intro for the song, which was interesting, because that's not the voice that we're usually used to hearing when we hear the intro to the episode. And from there, the next scene you see of Cato is him going into Georgia's safe house. She says, I think she's talking to Elizabeth, and she says he's been beat badly or something like that, and the next thing you see is him, and he says, a friend of a friend sent me. And yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Like, is he there to throw off Patty? Because in season 1 he did something kind of like that. He took the overseer position after Bill couldn't take it anymore, and he lit the whole cotton field on fire. So I mean, he could be doing something like that again. I don't know. We don't know at this point. I just know that he better not let me down. I just know that Cato is a very interesting character, and I don't know what he's gonna do at this point, which makes the show all the more interesting. Thank you guys as always for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.